Business people, lots of ideas. You need some advice? Come right here. Dreams with Leaders is here.
Hello! You just keep getting funnier with that all the time. It never ceases to make me laugh. How are you, Scott?
Doing phenomenal. You didn't laugh that hard at all, so I don't think I am making you laugh.
I was doing some technical stuff, but I was laughing inside.
Yeah, no big deal. You're just putting together a show while talking. I mean, that's really hard.
It's called producer in real world. I think I'm the producer.
Yeah, no, I think multitasking, which I think men just can't do. Yeah, so I can never do in a million years.
Hey, today's a huge day. Today's a huge day, and we're not going to get to that yet. Because first I want everybody we're letting everybody jump on. Let's introduce our text line. We'll introduce this a couple times. So if you want a reminder every week about this show coming on, just send us a text, Drinks with Leaders, 913-298-8790. We also announce who's coming on and our guests there. But then we've got another really exciting announcement today. I've got a video to announce it. Are you ready? I know. I'm coming out of nowhere with this. All right, get ready. Here we go. Hey, it's Erin.
And Scott.
We got some big news. We've got a brand new course dropping
today.
Right down here. I'm going to put the link right here in the comments. I'm so excited about it. We're covering some really awesome networking things, tips on networking. So I'm going to tell you what we're covering. I'm using my cheat sheet. Setting up your LinkedIn profile. What content works on LinkedIn? Building online relationships.
Setting up events and how to attract people to those events. What you actually do when you go to the events, and then taking your online relationships and building relationships offline.
So if you need to know anything and everything there is about networking, you need to go find this course today. There we are. That was our best improv video we could even come up with, huh?
So I got a text message from Joel Goldberg, Grant Gooding, Casey Wright, Scott Rowe, and Brian Schweitzer. And they were like, that looks like an eHarmony video, when we looked at each other and we go, today. Because it looked like it was planned, but not planned, and it wasn't. So they thought we were actors on how unprepared we were.
So I'm so excited. We already have lots of people signing up. And I think we've given them we gave away all our secrets pretty much.
Well, it's a good way not to get your butt kicked for a decade. And it's a good way to just learn from someone giving you advice. So I wish someone would have done that for us.
And we cover online and offline. So go sign up. We actually are really, really excited about it, and we poured our hearts into it. So I'm excited for everybody to do it. All right, let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to why everybody came.
Let people tune in, yeah.
But listen, that's how we got here, was networking. So
that's right. So we met everyone. That's how we met everyone on the panel.
It absolutely is. So okay, let's get ready. You doing music, and I'll do announcements, or I'll do introductions. All right. All right, today our first guest is Miss Suzanne Wheeler. Oh, I've messed this up. Sorry. Woo! I have to hit 2 buttons, and I'm still figuring it out. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi.
All right, our next guest, the one and only Miss Crnkovich.
Hello.
All right, I'm going to keep up with the ladies first. And our next guest is Miss Courtnay Bradley. All right, last but definitely not least, Mr. Mickey Parker. Oh, you're out of the room.
All right, you didn't want me in here.
We're still going to use the tech stuff. What?
Do we all get a text line and people vote for us like Dancing with the Stars?
We could do that.
I think you should.
Oh, that's stressful.
Let's use the comment section as that. I was just getting to the comment section. So say hello if you are here. Tell us if you are watching live or if you're watching this later. We'd love to know when people watch the show. Say hello to your friends that are on the panel and start asking your questions. Last week, we weren't even able to get to all the questions because we had so many questions. So, we do already have one question that's important to answer. What's the puppy's name?
This is Rosie.
Rosie. So
She's a Yorkie Terrier, and she's 2. And she's very happy to be here.
Well, all right. I guess we've got 5 guests today. Go ahead, Scott. Your turn.
Well, I do want to just give a shout out to Velocity, Jennifer's business. She's like by far the best audience member we have and then I can't say who's on the line because Aaron will get mad at me. But we're literally like the movie Anchorman, like anything you put up there. So if you're giving a shout out to your company, we'll probably read it. And so without any further ado, Suzanne, we're going to go with you first, then we'll go to Mickey. Give us a story of how you got to Kansas City and where you are today.
Oh, wow. I'm the first one. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We'll set the bar low. I got to Kansas City. I was basically, I grew up in Olathe, so I was already here. My parents, my mom's family are actually old settlers in Olathe, so we've been really long time. I don't know if you count Olathe as Kansas City, but I do. So, and then 18 years old, left to go to the military. Was in the military for 32 years. And that kind of takes me into the evolution of my personal story, which really I was in the area, serving in the military, and I decided that I wasn't sure if I was going to stay in Kansas City. I thought maybe because I am a transgender woman, I thought maybe that the East Coast or the West Coast would be a little bit more accepting. And I was looking at jobs and planning on I actually had a couple of jobs in DC lined up. And I had a good friend say, hey, you need to go to an event at what used to be the Mid-America Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, now the Mid-America LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and you'll see that maybe you want to try to stick around in Kansas City. And I did, and it only took one time being there and being taken around to network and being introduced to people to realize that Kansas City, I was underselling my hometown. And, being able to stay here with my friends from high school and from college and, all my new friends has just been amazing.
That's awesome. Suzanne, we'll have to connect. I'm a huge history nut, and a lot of people don't realize Olathe was kind of the gateway to the West. And so you had the Oregon, California, and Santa Fe Trail. So super interesting. Your family goes back really deep. Mickey, give us the pitch on how you got to Kansas City and what you're doing today.
Sure, thanks. I appreciate being on here. I basically consider Manhattan to be home. Went to high school in Manhattan and on to K-State. After I left college with an accounting and finance degree, I spent 5 years in South Louisiana, good Cajun country. Then had the opportunity to come back and go to work for my brother-in-law here in Overland Park. So that's what got me back here in the mid 80s. Spent 20 years here, and then had an opportunity to go spend a little bit of time in Houston, which is where I got actually involved in the company that I'm working with now. Is we had I actually did some research and so forth on trying to buy a company, and we found one to buy, and with the investors. Found a group of investors that wanted to buy that business, and then they asked me to run it for them. And it's a financial services company. And it was something that allowed me to really work from home, which I did for a little while in Texas. But with Kansas City being home for us, we were about to have our first granddaughter back in 2014 or 15 in that area. So we had to be back here, and so moved back. And but what I now do, what that business is I show people how they can use their IRA 401k as startup capital for a business. Most people don't know you can do that. It's not a loan. It's not a distribution. You can actually use pre-tax qualified money as startup capital for your business. It's not a loophole. It's really something that's been in the tax laws for 20 years, and thousands of companies have used it. So that's what I do now.
Did COVID change the laws for you to pull money out without having a penalty?
Yes, the CARES Act. Well, one of the things we always deal with is prior to the CARES Act, you generally had to terminate your employment to get access to your 401k funds. Most plans don't allow you to access 401k plans prior to termination. The CARES Act says that you can take up to $100,000 out for coronavirus. If you were diagnosed, a family member were diagnosed, if you had some impact, there is a provision that allows you to take $100,000 out, and you have 3 years to put it back for it not to be considered taxable. One of the ways you can put it back is use the program that I work on that allows you to go buy a business. So you can actually take, even if you're currently employed right now and you wanted to start a business, you can take $100,000 out if you have a coronavirus qualified distribution and start a new business with it. So it is an exception that's in there from the CARES Act.
Courtney, how did you get to Kansas City, and why were you so crazy to be an entrepreneur? What were you thinking?
I don't know. No, I was born and raised here. I was born in Shawnee and bounced around, the Overland Park, Lenexa area, and then I went to KU, so Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, and been working in sales and my entire career. But in 2009, I got the wild itch to just go out on my own and be an entrepreneur and work for myself. And so I launched Trilogie, which was named Square One Interiors at that time. And then we rebranded in 2018, I think. 2019, I can't even remember now. But people thought I was crazy for leaving a job and starting a business in the middle of a recession. And it was July of 2009, and I haven't looked back since. And we've grown every year, so that's exciting. But I was just passionate about getting out there and helping organizations as best we can. The part about being an entrepreneur, what's really funny is about 6 months after I started the business, I went through a Missouri bank, had a small business little program that was like 6 weeks long, and every week we learned, like 1 week was HR, 1 week was sales and marketing, 1 week was finance, and about halfway through the course I went up to Dodie Jacoby, who was the facilitator, and I'm like, I'm super excited that I took this course. I wish I would have taken it before I started my business. However, if I would have, I don't know that I actually would have taken the leap to start the business, because it would have been too scary. So I'm kind of a very big risk taker, and I'm always like, just do it and figure it out, as you're doing it. And so I guess I'm just a little nuts.
Short answer, what do you think is going to be more harder, running a business through the recession or running a business through COVID? I know COVID's not over, but what do you think? Gut reaction?
So I think it's going to be a little bit harder now. When I started, it was just me, and overhead was way lower. I was working out of my basement, which is ironic that I'm now working out of my home and things. But we have a showroom and everything. We're just trying to be respectful and not go in there a lot. Thank you, Katie. But I have stock. I'm sorry. I read a comment.
It's okay to read them when they're up here. It's just not on the side.
Okay, got it. So I think leading during COVID is going to be a little more challenging, just because I do have employees that I care very much about, and I'm responsible for their livelihood as well. And the fact that I do have way more overhead. Like I said, we've got a showroom. We have costs associated with that I didn't have when I first started. So if I happen to fail on my own, it was just impacting me. If God forbid something goes wrong during COVID, then that's going to affect my people, and that hurts me more than if it was just me.
And who is Katie that commented?
Katie Gassman. She is my right-hand lady. So she has been with me the longest. She's been like 6.5 years now. And she is actually moving into a bit of a leadership role with us. We haven't even really officially announced that, so I'm announcing it live.
Well, huge fan of Katie. She's wonderful. She's doing amazing things in the business community, and she's doing amazing things with the Loop Kansas City, which is a young organization of leaders. Karen, how did you get to Kansas City, and what does your organization business do today?
I am originally from Michigan. I moved around a lot before landing here. Michigan, Lake of the Ozarks, Colorado. I went to then St. Louis. I went to Mizzou, go Tigers. And then I got in the hotel business. I know, it's shameless. I got in the hotel business. I moved to New Orleans, and with Omni Hotels, I lived in New Orleans, New Haven, Connecticut, Boston, and in Florida. And then luck would have it, or destiny would have it, that I would meet a gentleman who was from Kansas City, and a few months later there was a job, and so I moved to be the director of group sales at now the Intercon. It was the Fairmat back then, and then I've been here ever since. So it's my 9th state, if you were counting. And then I now am owner and president, chief handshaker of DMC Service. We are a full service HVAC and plumbing company. We specialize in service, so we fix it or replace it or we maintain it. Those are the 3 kind of things. We stay away from new construction. And I acquired that business through the easiest way is I bought the owner out when he did not want to be a part of it anymore. And I've been running it for 5 years. And it's fun and scary and exciting and a new challenge every day.
So Karen, how did you operate your business when COVID hit? Were you able just to continue as business as usual, and kind of give everyone a size and scope of, how many people do you have in the field? How many people do you have in the office? How are you able to run? Because a lot of industries like yours were able to kind of keep rolling.
We were considered essential, but in service work, like if you think of HVAC and plumbing, and 80% of our revenue is commercial. So we take care of a lot of retail spaces, churches, office buildings, warehousing and distribution is a big vertical for us. So people always need plumbing fixed. And people always want AC and heating working. And then we also have a small percentage of people, I call them the friends of Karen, who are residential customers, because they literally are usually my friends. And so we were able to keep working, but our revenues took a sharp dive because COVID, like some of those like retail spaces all shut down. So they were no longer wanting us to go do the preventive maintenance. They didn't have repairs. A lot of our customers kind of scaled back. So our revenues in year over year, and we were trending up in January and February, but year over year took an over 50% dive in April and May. June bounced back up, and July looks like it's trending up as well. We have 12 total employees. I just hired 2 more that'll start in a few weeks. And the majority of those are out in the field. So I have 8 guys out in the field, for kind of office/admin team leaders who hybrid between being in the field and being in the office. Did I answer that? I think I answered.
Last quick question. You've lived a lot of places. What's the one thing that brings you that you most enjoy about Kansas City that you can't get anywhere else?
What do I enjoy the most? Really, I think the people in Kansas City are amazing. There's that, having lived on the East Coast, even the South, there's not the kind of friendly openness. Hey, let's just be friends. I just met you. Let's be friends and, network or get a drink or coffee or whatever. Openness. You don't have that, especially on the East Coast. It's a much more closed society. I'm kind of a sunny, like, glass is half full, it's always sun shining, like, look for the good kind of person. So every place I've lived, I've loved for different reasons, but Kansas City by far I love because of the people.
Suzanne, we're going to transition to the topic of give us a recent win for your organization or your company. And I would say to Karen, I think the reason why she likes the Midwest so much is because your family's settled Kansas City and you're so friendly. So that's a bonus. We have you to thank. But give us a recent win for your organization and kind of add a little bit of color to kind of what you do on a daily basis.
Okay, wonderful. What I do on a daily basis, I'm the executive director for the Mid-America LGBT Chamber of Commerce. We're a regional chamber of commerce, handling throughout the entire metro. We have 400 businesses that range from small micro businesses all the way up to some of Kansas City's largest corporate partners. A big win for us in the past few months, and it really has been a silver lining that has come out of the COVID-19 response, has been a partnership with the Greater Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Heartland Black Chamber of Commerce. We've been working on partnerships with some of the other minority chambers here in the city. And we really couldn't get over the hump initially. And what COVID ended up doing was giving us the opportunity to be able to go beyond just the discussions at the top level and really get down to the meat of how we're going to serve our communities and how we're going to better our communities and the business leaders within our communities. And it's also created a lot more partnerships outside of that for the chamber, which have been fabulous.
Suzanne, that's amazing. How did those conversations get rolling? I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm a huge, as the Business Journal not written about it, I mean, that's huge for our city.
The Business Journal hasn't picked it up yet. The MOU was signed initially just by the executive directors and the CEOs of the three chambers. However, we're going to be doing, as soon as we can get everybody together, we want to do a big memorandum of understanding signing, and we're hoping to get a lot more coverage for it at that point in time. How it started really was out of a need. We were reached out to by Congressman Cleaver. He reached out to all the minority chambers, said he wants to participate. And we were the three chambers who came in and sat down at the table and started talking about how can we better improve where we're going. We're hoping right now there's a grant proposal before the city council in Kansas City, Missouri. And we're hoping that grant comes through because that'll let us all three office together. And we want to make sure that we've got office space that would allow the other minority chambers to come in and lower their overhead.
That's huge.
I want to say something. One, I did see a big story about you, Suzanne, in the Business Journal.
Oh, well, thank you.
It was a great story. And also we have Beth Collins watching live, and she's works at the Business Journal. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get that story done.
Yay!
No pressure, Beth.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. No, that's just huge. I'm super excited to read more about it, and I'm a huge business nerd, and I just think that creates a ton of opportunities with economies of scale and access and opportunities. So that's super exciting. Mickey, we kind of alluded a little bit, talking about with COVID and the CARES Act, kind of loosening up some options for people to tap into different resources. What's kind of a recent success story that is something that you like? It's a favorite that makes you happy talking to people about.
Well, for me, it's really hard to limit it to just one. You know, I work in that entrepreneurial space where we have talk to a lot of people who are talking to me about their dreams. You know, they want to either buy or start a business, and I operate nationwide, so I have a lot of clients from coast to coast. So whether it's a local person who I talk to about buying a donut shop. Talked to another gentleman about buying a local HVAC business. Talked to a person out of state up in Oregon who is wanting to build an adult care home. COVID has slowed that down, permits and all the things about buying property that she was dealing with. Well, we do a lot of franchise restaurant business. Obviously, that's slowed down a little bit. So I think the opportunity, though, is that there are probably a good number of professionals who have lost their job in this COVID environment, who are really trying to decide what they want to do. And if they knew that their 401k was accessible to them as startup capital, might very well go start their own, do their own thing, start their own business.
Courtnay, kind of talk to us about a recent success for you, and then also give us a little bit of update of like kind of what's going on in your world with people in moving spaces. So kind of all the above.
So a recent win was really back in the spring, and we finished installing. So we help companies create kick-ass workspaces, and we were awarded the Tonganoxie Library. They built a new library facility in Tonganoxie. And the reason why it's, to me, such a big win is that I've done what I do for 16 years now, and started my company 11 years ago. And I love seeing what we do for companies and how we help create, you know, again, those kick-ass workspaces where we're impacting culture and things like that. But I've never got to do it within the community that I live in. And I moved out to Tonganoxie a couple of years ago, and have really put some roots down, literally and figuratively. So it was very exciting to me. And I was super passionate when I went after the project, because I'm like, I live in this town. I live with this community. I see the people that are impacted by it. I have friends that are, you know, that I've made that are impacted by it. Their kids love it. So to really be part of that, and to be, you know, just watch again the people that I interact with on a regular basis, and how they've, you know, welcomed it and they love it, and it's just really exciting to see. Now, I will say it was super sad. They were open for 1 week, and then COVID shut everybody down, but they have slowly reopened. So I think eventually, maybe in the fall or maybe in the winter, they'll be able to have some sort of official grand opening. But yeah, so that was a win.
Yeah, it's not a small project. That's amazing.
No, it was awesome. It's very cool looking. So what's happening like in our industry, obviously I deal with businesses and organizations that are moving, not moving back. You know, we had a huge thing that we were helping with when everyone went to work from home, helping people transition into that. Now we're helping some people transition back to the office. However, we have quite a few clients that are not returning back to the office until 2021. So that's, you know, we're like, okay, so what does that look like? There's, you know, some people are still talking about expansion into other markets and things like that as a long-term plan. But really the next 6 to 12 months, I don't see much going on in terms of new projects coming up, maybe in the education and healthcare sector, and offices that maybe are already too far gone. CrossFirst Bank's one of my clients, very long-term client. You know, they're obviously getting ready to move into their plaza space, but that project had been started, you know, 2 years ago. So everything that we're working on now is stuff that we had been working on for quite some time. What I'm not seeing, you know, a little bit, but not a ton of, not our normal level, is things that we should be working on now that we'll be installing in 6, 12, 18 months. Does that answer your question?
Aaron, do you have a heads up before I ask Karen the last question here?
Yeah, just start asking questions. I did want to point out that Beth actually was making an email suggestion for the story. So see, your comments make a big deal on here. So yeah, start asking your questions because we're going to get to those next. Karen.
That's amazing, Beth. It was so hard for me not to read your comment when it popped up when I was asking Mickey a question. So I've been waiting to ask that. So Karen, kind of give us a recent success story to give everyone a little bit of idea of your organization and how you're helping businesses and residential end users grow.
Okay, so our recent win is maybe not quite so recent, but it's so huge I have to share it. So going back to 2017, 2018, we had a couple of big jobs for us that we took baths on. I mean, hardcore face plant, one job. It finished beautifully. Like we finished it, and our motto is diamond strong, brilliant work. So we kind of gritted through it and got it done, and it looks beautiful. But I learned an entrepreneurial lesson of the difference between service technicians and construction installers. And that was just my naivety and not really understanding those nuances that are pretty important. And so 2017 to 2018 were tough. It was kind of the make it work moment where I was borrowing money or lending money to myself through anywhere I could find money to make payroll. I mean, every 2 weeks I was running and taking more money out of my home equity line of credit. All the credit cards got maxed, got to the point where I was like, okay, if this doesn't start to turn, like we're going to have to make some really difficult choices. And through that time, we really, really got critical and like looked at every single line item. What can we cut? I called it the slash and burn budget. And that started to take effect where we could be like, okay, now we're not negative anymore. We're positive or equal cash flow. And then that momentum continued through 2019 where we grew our year over year profits 230%. And that just made such a huge difference in everything. We helped able to pay down debt. And it was just such a good reminder to, I think sometimes especially entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, you kind of start to have, well, I can put that on my business budget, or, we can pay for this through the business. And a lot of that is like to haves, not need to haves, and going through that process of, okay, this is what our business needs to have in order to function. And everything else is no, was great. We don't necessarily run it exactly that way, but we haven't gone back the other side either. Like the pendulum hasn't swung where we're just like, passing out champagne at every meeting. So I was really, really like the amount of just kind of relief, number one, and pride in being able to really turn it around, because we were one payroll away from me telling the guys that 12, at that time, 10 people who worked for me, I didn't know where our payroll was going to come in. So that's my biggest win. Woo! And we've stayed on that trend since then. In terms of what we do, one of the reasons why I decided to buy this company and go all in, I'd been an employee and a partial owner for 5 years before signing my name on the line and taking it all over, was that I feel that, especially in the trades, HVAC and plumbing, they get a bad rap because there's a lot of companies out there that sell you stuff you don't need because they're trying to line their pockets. And our business philosophy is to not do that. None of my technicians get commissions for, we don't have that kind of restaurant, you're going to work for your tips mentality. I pay my guys fair wages. If they bring business to us, I give them a little commission for that as a thank you for bringing customers to us or referrals. But it's not like I'm going to say, I'm going to pay you $15 and you're going to go to this business or this homeowner, and then the rest of your, 5 or 10 or whatever payroll is dependent on you selling things to those individuals or companies. I think that's a really slippery slope, and you get into some ethical issues. And the majority of my industry seems to shrug their shoulders and look the other way. So I feel really proud about the fact that we don't do that. And so we want to take care of people. I mean, when it's hot, you want your AC. It's pretty important. We're out on Ward Parkway right now dealing with a sewer line breakup or sewer line backup, where there was literally the EPA was out there. Sorry to out everybody that sorry, Ward Parkway, that the EPA was out there because sewer was running down the sewer water is running down the street, and that's a problem. That's not healthy. So my guys are out there fixing it right now as we speak.
Quentin Lucas did a great job of fixing the potholes on Ward Parkway. A little sewage is okay. So
Did he do it himself? Can you see him out there fixing potholes?
Did he really?
No, I'm kidding.
Quentin's been on the show. He's an amazing guest, but I just was like, really? He was fixing potholes? So
You
Aaron,
made it sound like that. You're like,
let me
Quentin
know
got
if I can ask questions or if you want to fire them up. Go ahead.
All right, so start asking your questions. I do want to say hi to some people. Remember, if your privacy settings are on, then we can't see who you are. But I definitely want to point out this one. The text line is a great reminder, and I agree. So make sure you subscribe to the text line. All right, so real quick, I do have to say this just so people don't start hitting up Beth. She has no editorial power at the Business Journal. She runs the sales team. She's the manager of the sales ad team. So if you need ads, definitely hit her up. But anything else, don't ask her to write a lot of stories. So, okay, Mike Meyer, this is a silly question, but he just wants to know how to get sunglasses like you, Scott.
So we're about to start getting paid by this brand. It's a small little shop called Walmart, and we've mentioned it on every show.
The fancy Walmart.
Old 159th and 69 highway. So
not a joke. If you haven't been to that Walmart, it is very fancy.
Yeah, I bought this as a joke for my business partner and I to do a photo shoot with Luke Wade's windbreakers, saying that the wind didn't stand a chance in 2020. But then COVID happened, and then that was a poor choice of marketing, so we didn't do it.
And then we've got all sorts of people watching live today. So just wanted to say hi to everybody. All right, well, then I'm going to start asking questions because I personally know everybody on this panel. All right. So, Karen, let's stick with you for a second. So one of the wins you didn't talk about and how we know each other is you actually are the president of the Junior League of Kansas City, Missouri this year. Can you talk a little bit about how being the president of a board during COVID, I guess some of the challenges and some of the lessons you've learned with that?
Yes, I can. I am very honored to be the president, even in a pandemic. 107. I'm the 107th president of the Junior League, and we are a local women's organization that has created and sparked a lot of change in our city, starting at the very beginning. So I love Junior League and our mission of improving communities and developing the potential of women and promoting volunteerism. Being president of a board in a pandemic really requires a lot of flexibility, as it does with a business owner. We, had plans. We do general meetings. We do a lot of meetings, a lot of convening, a lot of volunteering out in the community. And it's, I think even when you're running a business or if you're leading a nonprofit, taking a step back and just kind of breathing and saying, okay, this is what we're dealing with. Now, how can we pivot? Pivot should be the year of 2020 because that is all we're doing is pivoting. And really what my biggest kind of management challenge is trying to keep our 1,400 members connected to each other, because meeting is such an important piece of our culture. Keeping them engaged and excited about our mission. It takes a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of, okay, we're going to look on the bright side of things and make lemonade out of lemons, and all of the other kind of sayings that we say to kind of get ourselves through tough times. Junior League's in a great spot. There are other junior leagues around the nation who saw a 30% or more dip in their membership because we are a dues-based organization. And the Junior League this year is actually up in members. So I'm really, excited and happy about that. Did I answer your question, Erin?
You did. And we sit on this board together. So it's been great leadership by Karen. Suzanne, I want to pivot to you with that because you run an organization as well where you're probably having to have a lot of conversations about membership too, right? Because it's a due-based membership. So I have a two-part question for you. One, how has that been affected by COVID? And then two, as we've been hearing a lot in the news that minority-owned businesses overall haven't been as supported as maybe some other businesses. How has your role really played in helping support those businesses that truly haven't been as supportive as maybe other businesses?
Well, those are both great questions. The first is, yes, we have taken a little bit of a hit in membership. Not nearly as much as what we planned on when we started, but part of what we've had to do is also address, much like any other business, address our revenue streams and really kind of tighten the budget as much as we possibly can so we can give our members as much time as they can possibly get to be able to pay. And we've come up with some new methods for payment, things like being able to pay online on a monthly basis like you would a Netflix account and things like that, which make the dues a lot easier to tolerate and deal with. Programming within the chamber, that was a major flex for us because we rely on a lot of in-person networking, as any other chamber of commerce does. Our businesses benefit from it because they can sponsor different events, and we've had to shift to online type events, and that's been a challenge because you're constantly moving. You may find an event that works great one month, and then the next month it's not working as well. So you've got to change up the formatting and everything to be able to get to where you want to be. As minority businesses, we have seen some challenges with being able to get money to some of our businesses. And part of the problem is a lot of minority businesses are not built out and don't have the access to the lines of capital that a lot of entrepreneurs out there do have. So you may have a business that started as a cottage industry that kind of grew out, and you've got folks who never had to go get a loan before and didn't have a banking account open at a certain bank that was giving a PPP loan. So we've been having to assist folks along that line too, and helping them, and then hooking them up, making sure that they're still making those connections that they need to make, because there's some great connections out there. And a lot of our corporate partners are really right now struggling to be able to find the small businesses that they were making connections with before, that to be able to fulfill some of their contracting. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been watching you guys. You guys have been doing really good work. We're a member of your chamber, and which I do want to say, and maybe this was just my naivety, but you brought up both the Hispanic chamber and the Mid-America LGBT chamber. You guys switched that on me, so I'm making sure I get that right. When I first got into business, and this may sound totally stupid, but people ask me this on the side all the time, so I'm just going to go out and say it. You do not have to identify with that community to join the chamber and support. Those are actually two of my very favorite chambers. The Hispanic chamber, my first thing I thought, oh my gosh, you're going to have to speak Spanish. I ended up sitting on their board for 2 years, and it was one of my favorite experiences ever. So just so you guys know, there are so many awesome minority chambers that you can support as a business and actually really do good business in too. So I just got that out there because people ask me, they're like, oh, I didn't know you could be in there. I'm like, yeah, you can be in whatever you want to be in, really. So
and fun events.
Yeah.
Mid-America LGBT, their luncheon, I am so sad it's not happening this summer. I am like, it was my favorite luncheon last year by far. So
our unofficial chamber motto is we're casual Friday, not stodgy Mondays.
it's a good time. It's a good time. All right. Mickey, let's talk to you because this is Courtney's girl. So we're going to make you answer the question.
That's good.
Okay, I'm gonna bring your face back in a second. So, seems like you all have roles that rely somewhat heavily on in-person networking relationships. Does anyone have creative ideas on how to keep building our networks and going after new prospects amidst COVID? And Mickey, you and I have really met right before COVID, but we've never even met in person. So why don't you kind of chat about some of the stuff you've been doing?
Great question, Katie.
Yeah, and it really has been has affected what I do. To be able to get nationwide clients, we've done some nationwide advertising on various business type websites, and but about a year or so ago, I really tried to make the commitment to start getting out into the community here in Kansas City and getting involved in events. And because I end up finding out I'm really just an educator. You know, I just have to. People don't seek me out because they don't know they can do what I do. So the first thing I have to do is try to teach them or teach their mentors. Meeting with banks, and I've been fortunate to have a couple of banks in town that's had me into their small bankers to say, because the bankers are looking at a financial statement, and what we end up hearing is that maybe their retirement accounts are their largest asset on their financial statement, and they have no idea how they can use it. And to be able to tell the bankers that this option is available has opened some bankers' eyes. Business brokers are somewhat familiar with it. They've used it in the past, but I've been able to talk to business brokers. But to your question about it's obviously been difficult since then. I've been on a webinar with a business broker who was putting on an online type webinar. So outside of that, it's been tough.
You've been on Drinks with Leaders show watching every week. Networking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, Scott.
Mickey, who are some of your, I know it's not fun to name competitors at the same time, but I think rising tides raise all ships. Who are some of your favorite business brokers and banks that you like working with?
Well, the first bank that invited me in was Enterprise, and then the NBKC had me into their business brokers, Apex, and Apex is the one that I did the other webinar with, and it was a COVID surrounded. It was surrounding COVID, and the businesses are still being bought and sold in light of COVID.
All right, Courtney and Karen, we're going to ask you these questions. Since you both have some teams under you as entrepreneurs, Courtney, let's start with you. It's going to cover your face, but I'll take it off right afterwards, okay? Here we go. As you look at managing costs and focusing the business on what matters most, because I know you've done this as well. I guess we should tee it up like that. What were the areas that you found had a big impact, areas that were easier to reduce costs without impacting your ability to fulfill your purpose? Courtney, you and I had this conversation this week, so that's kind of where my mind
went. So for us, some of the things where we were looking line by line on things, because I am in the process right now, I want to cut costs a little bit in preparation for, as Karen mentioned, the service industry, which you took the hit immediately, right? So your revenue was down in this first couple months, and now it's ticking back up, and I hope it keeps to continue to go up. For us, we're going to feel it months from now, because like I said earlier, is that our level of new business and new projects and things that are coming in and that we are starting to talk to people about, that level isn't as high as it normally is. So I'm trying to be proactive. My biggest thing that I've said during this entire thing is I do not want to let anyone go. I don't want to lay off any of my people. I'm trying, to make that stay that way. And so what's happening is I'm looking at our books line by line, working with my controller and really looking at everything and looking and saying, okay, what are some things that maybe we can handle, not as well, but we can manage for a little bit in-house. So we are bringing a couple things back in-house. And then, you know, kind of like Karen said, what are the things that you absolutely don't need? Going and looking at those things as well, and either completely getting rid of them or taking a pause is what I'm calling it. Is we're pausing. You know, I'm trying to pause in a couple things for the next 6 months to see where we're at in December and what the next 12 months are going to look like. So that's what we're doing right now. Is anything that we can bring in house. Again, we will probably not do it. I know we won't do it as well as the companies that we had hired to do these things for us, but that we are going to need to do it for a little bit.
How about you, Karen?
For us, one of the biggest areas that we really saw some savings is, so my company pays 100% of healthcare premiums for every full-time employee, including dental and vision. And we went out and found a broker, and they went to market for us. And what we ended up doing was not sacrificing necessarily the quality of what we were offering, but changing plans and kind of teeing it up by offering some other incentives at the same time. I mean, it was like, I called it in-person company meeting just to go through the healthcare changes. And I mean, my guy, and I say guys, I have one other woman who works for me. So when I say guys, I just don't mean it to be general. I'm from Michigan originally. Everybody's you guys. But they all just appreciated that we were still committed to paying 100% of their premiums, because that's pretty unheard of in any industry. But one of our core values is to take care of our employees. And that's the best way that I see that we can do that. I think that saved us about $20,000 over an annual basis by just switching our healthcare plans. We also looked at everything. I switched phone plans to a cheaper phone plan. Do I love my new phone plan? Not really, but I don't hate it. So there's that. We, across the board, it was every single line item. We didn't cut staff and we didn't cut payroll, like in terms of what we were paying each person, but everything else got a trim, even if it was pennies, because those pennies will add up quickly.
Do you pay 100% for employees and families?
No, we don't pay for families because there are none of the options are great, right? But the plan that we opt into, it would really break us, especially because some of my guys have pretty big families, and a lot of them have resources or options to go in other places where their spouse works outside the home as well, so they might have healthcare or things like that. It's one of the things that's on my wish list to cover families eventually, but covering the employee at 100% is where we're at right now.
Aaron, we want to make sure to give a shout out to Randy Powell and his show. He has a great show. So if anyone is looking to get to know other business leaders in town, connect with Randy on LinkedIn.
Yeah, for sure. And then Lori Laughlin was very, she didn't know that you could join the chambers if you didn't identify. So she's very excited. So she's my old boss from like 15 years ago, a long time ago. Yeah. So, okay. So let's just ask this question real quick. Let's go around real quick and we'll have real quick answers and then we'll wrap up. This has been a great show. First of all, thank you all so much.
Time flies.
What'd you say?
Time is fun.
I know, it went really fast. I was like, oh. Let's ask this question. So what is the one thing as we're kind of going down to, I know everybody's going a little bit more on lockdown, not total lockdown anymore, but they're spending more time at home again. What is the one thing you're going to avoid this round of hanging out at home in the kitchen? This is Scott's favorite question. I'm messing it up. In the kitchen, because there were all those stories of eating too much of certain things in the kitchen the first round. So going into second round, what are you going to avoid in the kitchen? We'll start with you, Suzanne, and go around.
Oh, what am I going to avoid in the kitchen?
Could be Oreo. It can't be drinks. It can't be wine. It can't be.
I'm really allowed to have them.
In the liquor cabinet. It's got to be food.
Oh goodness. I have stopped. My weakness, and this is going to sound silly, but it's been my weakness since I was a kid, was potato chips. And I have that tendency to go to the store, and they always have them like 5 for $20 or whatever, and buy 5 packs of potato chips and eat them all in like a week. And that I'm not bringing those in again.
How about you, Mickey? By the way, Stephen loves this question.
He's coming on the show.
I didn't stop going into work during the lockdown. We were considered essential because I also do regular retirement plans. The people who roll their money over end up having a retirement plan, so we provide the third-party administration to a whole bunch of plans as well. So still worked with that, but the one issue that I deal with is it, again, probably goes back to snacks. It was sort of like my wife mentioned the other day, I got some veggie straws for you, or these little bags of vanilla wafers, and says, why don't you take those? I said, if I don't take them to the office, then I don't eat them. So the best thing for me to do is just not take them.
They're not there. You can't touch them.
That's right.
How about you, Courtnay?
Fruity Dino Bites. If you are unfamiliar, it is the generic version of Fruity Pebbles. And the bag is like, you don't even know, it's huge. It's huge. It's like $3. They're delicious. The kids love them, and I eat the whole bag. And then I feel horrible about myself. But so I can't buy them. Yeah, Fruity Dino Bites. That's what I'm avoiding.
All right, Karen, if you have the same answer, I'd be very shocked.
I do not. I didn't even know what Fruity Dino Bites were. So I learn something new every time. This is so amazing. Actually, I'm going to break the rules because I don't cook. Don't cook. So I think next round, just not opening up as much wine as I did last round. Sorry to break the rules, but that's who I am. I'm a rule breaker. I didn't really go crazy with the food stuff. Too bad.
Yeah, but when you don't have to drive anywhere, it's easy to drink the wine. I agree. All right. I got myself a trainer, and I'm avoiding all of the carbs. How about you, Scott?
Yeah, good luck for all of us. I mean, that's impossible. I think everything that everyone said is spot on. I mean, I really mix it up. I've had fruit snacks. I've done candy, chips, chicken wings. It's not good. It's not good. It's been a lot of stuff. And then there's another business celebrity that asked a question that we didn't get to. So I just want to make sure that we'll get to those questions later. But Fruity Dino Bites, literally, I'm totally going to get that.
Marshmallows. There's 2 options. Get the ones with the marshmallows.
If I got the fancy Walmart next to me, they'll probably have it for $2.50.
Yes, for a bag as big as your body. It's crazy.
Yes, Ezzy Redwood, who works on my team, did ask a question. It's a question that I think is very important to answer. So if our panel will go back and answer in the comments, I'd really appreciate that. But we have just 2 more minutes, and I told Ezzy to get here early. So, Ezzy, you better get here early next time. We want to say thank you to everybody for coming on. If you want to make sure that you never miss an episode, text Drinks with Leaders. Your friends already told you. The text line works great as a reminder. So make sure that you text Drinks with Leaders. I'll put the number up there one more time. And then if you want to learn how to network as well as of all these people, so you can one day make it on the show, make sure you check out learningtonetwork.com. That is where we're going to teach you all our secrets of online and offline networking. And again, we appreciate all of you coming on so much. And I saw a meme the other day that said, I never wave in person when I say goodbye, but always on Zoom or, it said Zoom, but on here we wave goodbye. So thank you so much. And we'll see you next week.